Hello and welcome to another review. It has definitely been a while, and for that I apologize. We have been massively busy on the streaming side and also on the work side. There is a huge update for all the community members that we have that's in Discord. If you want to check it out, please do, or stop by during the live stream itself, and I'm happy to explain it. We did a stream where we explore 2025 and what we're doing, what our plans are, what our goals are, and it's huge. So if you don't want to miss out, make sure you're a part of it. You're all welcome, and I'd love to see your face. So today's review is Beyond Hanwell on the Xbox Series X. Is it a good game? Is it worth your time? Is it worth your money? That's the whole point. It is a spoiler-free review to give you as much insight as possible and maybe even help you with a purchase decision in the future, or save your money if the game isn't your cup of tea and you believe it's just shit. So let's crack on with it. We break it down in the same way that we break every other game down. Same sort of review, same sort of template. So let's crack on. The very first thing that we like to look at is choice of music used. Why? Because soundtracks, music, and audio effects are my cup of tea, for sure. I think soundtracks are the most important thing to a video game for me, because a incredible soundtrack can make or break a game. It could make a game better or worse. It's as simple as that. And does Beyond Hanwell have a fantastic soundtrack? Oh, hell it does. 100%. The atmosphere that the music and the soundtrack builds in this game is absolutely phenomenal. And I even said it multiple times during the actual stream itself, how impressed I was with the music, the soundtrack, and even all the audio effects within the game itself. I was blown away at times. So I have to give them props where props are due. 100%. I think the soundtrack to this game is spot on, in my opinion. The voice acting, there's quite a bit of talking, mainly around recorders that you find, that you can play tapes and you can listen to the voice acting there. I didn't really have any gripes or issues around any of that. There wasn't any weird dialogues. It all fit. It was all within tone of the game itself. And again, there was nothing really negative to highlight. So we're just going to move on. The graphics, texturing, and weather effects. Now, I have to say, we ran this game in performance mode. You can run this game in quality mode if you want to, and if you want to know the difference, quality is where the game pushes at the highest quality that it possibly can do at the risk of dropping frame rate, so that your frames will drop. Or performance focuses more on frames per second than quality. We ran it in quality mode. And we saw when we were moving around that it was not smooth. It definitely struggled at times in certain areas of the game. So because of how fast paced some of the areas are in the game, we had to switch to performance mode because we needed every frame to work with us. From that point onwards, we did encounter a small amount of frame droppage around the game, but not anything that was massively too big. And we're running the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series One X. So we got the best console that we can possibly have. And performance just was a lot better than quality, in my opinion. But the weather effects in this game blew me away. They were so absolutely on point. And this game is based in London, which, you know, surprise, my neck of the woods. And it felt like it 100%. Yes, it rained a lot. Yes, it rained a lot. Yes, we had thunder and lightning. Yes, we had storms. We had wind effect. It looked really, really good. And this is probably the second biggest hype that I'm going to push on this game, is that the weather effects are phenomenal. They are great. So yeah, good job, guys. 100%. Really well done. When it comes down to texturing and any glitches and bugs with the textures, we did get quite a bit. We had quite a few mobs who got stuck in textures quite badly as well. They led to easy kills But yeah, the game definitely needs polishing on the texturing side of things, because there were flickering um, uh, points around a bit of the game where you could just see things load in really badly, and you can see him rapidly flicker quite a bit. The blood stains as well, they would at certain angles would change and flicker, and it's just comb through it, send down a few patches, and I'm pretty sure you'll be able to smooth that out, no problem itself. Did it ruin the overall experience? Not for me, but I could see that it might upset some others. So I guess it's more of a preferencing. I know this game is still mega new, so I'm pretty sure they can just send a couple of updates down that will just fix those issues, and then we'll be all good. But when it comes down to the character model design, you do fight a small variety of enemies. There's not a massive range of enemies in this game at all. And that's a little on the negative side, if you want my honest opinion. When you compare this game to like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, you have a good variety of monsters to fight in those series. But in this, not so much. A lot of them, well, the majority of them are all humanoids, so that kind of makes sense. But they could have done a little bit more in terms of maybe mutations and giving us just a bit more variety of enemies to fight, because it makes it less boring when you're fighting different enemies. When you end up fighting the same thing over and over and over and over again, it gets boring fast, and we never want that in any game. So just from the graphics side of it all, couple of patches, give it a couple of weeks or a couple of months down the line, and stuff like that might just never be a problem, and it might be all gravy from there on. The weapons that you build, they all looked great as well. The crafting that you can do within the game was a really fun little idea. I like that quite a lot. The guns all sounded good. You only get two, which is a shame. I'm a massive handgun fan itself, so the handgun looked good. It sounded great. The shotgun sounded phenomenal, and that thing was a beast when you're in a tunnel. But yeah, the graphic side of things, I was quite impressed overall. I could just see that they needed a little bit of polishing here and there, and that's really it. But the engine did a very good job in performance mode. In quality mode, you may see some struggling. Gameplay and mechanics. The gameplay is very similar to the Ethan Winter Resident Evil series. It's first person, you have melee, and you also have firing. So you could say even very similar to Dead Island, because you can actually craft your weapons, you can build some weapons up, and you can just go around and smack enemies with them. But I have to say that the spawning that's done on the outside of the London area, the outside in London, is pretty bad. You'll be running in a straight line, and then all of a sudden you'll get hit, and an enemy is spawned right behind you, and I think that is absolute fucking stupid. Like really dumb. I don't know if it's because they want to free up as much memory as possible. I really don't know. But enemies should never fucking spawn around the player like that. That's done in a really shitty way. They could have maybe areas around the city where the enemies crawl into the area, and that would make way more sense and actually would work a lot better. But yeah, that definitely needs fixing or patching in some way, because that's done in a really piss poor manner. It would have been also nice to be able to explore even more buildings, and maybe even some museums within the game itself. There's a lot of parts around I got to say that the map is fucking awesome. It's such a great map. The amount of points of interests around the map, it's quite a great amount. And that you get to go into, and you get to explore the inside of these either buildings, houses, shops, etc. But it's really well done from that side. But as I said, the gameplay is very similar to an Ethan Winter Resident Evil game, mixed in with Dead Island weapon crafting and attacking. The controllers are a little bit on the stiff side. They're not as fluent. And even the buttons that you have to use, it's a bit messy. It's a little bit messy, and I think they can take a lot of inspiration away from other games that do it better. Even if you have to basically copy their control map system, to be fair, their controller mapping. I think crouch should always be B, for example. I don't like analog clicking crouching. I think that's really, really shit. One tab is for healing, where the other tab is for running, and sometimes you fucking push the wrong buttons at time. And you don't really have a user interface which showcases what you're using, what you're carrying, and stuff like that. And that could be just an easy patch or an easy update just to help the player or remind the player what they're using, what they're carrying, what they have. The inventory section is quite large. And you will end up picking up loads of items, loads of crafting items. There is obviously a limit or a cap, but you can find bag upgrades around the game which massively support you and your finds, because I'm a bit of a loot whore. But at times I did have to drop stuff on the floor, maybe put a storage unit in your safe houses, so you can deposit anything that you don't need to carry. That would be helpful, because then you won't end up throwing things on the floor that you might need later on. But the game's quite good when it comes down to the supplies. They're very, very plentiful, so you'll always have a good amount to go through itself. Have fun with the crafting. I did. I did. It was quite cool. I found some weapons that I really enjoyed using, and they were very messy against the enemies, so have fun with that. Let me know in the comments on YouTube down below what weapon you preferred, but I was definitely a sledgehammer person. Replayability and game difficulty. There is a new game plus option that unlocks after you've completed the story of the game itself, and there is a fun enemy spawn mode where you can take your character to a certain location in the game and experiment by spawning in any or all enemies that you want, the weapons, and you can just go around and just practice and get good. And that's such a cool little feature. That really, 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 really is. Because it allows you to experiment with maybe some of the things that you didn't get to use beforehand. I will jump on that mode and see how long I can survive, because there were some weapons that I just some equipment items that I didn't get to play with. I went through a lot of the melee weapons, like a shitload. Even the typical knife that you would expect to find in London. But there is definitely replayability from that aspect, especially if you're trying to aim for the achievements. But there are no collectibles. I'm a big fan of collectibles. I know you can go around collecting blueprints, but I like a little bit more than that. Just a little bit, because what it does is it'll encourage my curiosity to run around the city of London and explore more. Looking like little tight corners or high ground areas or low ground areas for maybe something you can pick up and collect. And maybe you can utilize those in some way. You know, I don't know. It's just a good idea, in my opinion. But I didn't find the game too difficult. We played it on just the basic mode. We went straight in, and we tend to play on normal mode on any game that we do, unless we struggle and we have to knock it down. But I didn't really find the game too difficult. There was one stealth quiet section that you had to do in the game that really started to piss me off. And that's just because the enemies are supposed to be blind, and yet they can feel your movement in the atmosphere, which is just, ugh, I don't know. There is a sensory sound feature in play as well. If you step on broken glass, they kind of know where you are and they charge you. And there are one-shot enemy as well. So when they grab you, they insta-kill you, and then you get put back to your checkpoint again. And I died more than 10 times. It got really fucking annoying really quickly. There could have been more bosses as well. I really loved the last boss. What a fucking awesome fight that was. That was really, 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 really cool. But I'm not going to say what, how, when, and all that shit. I don't do that. We don't spoil the story. So the story, yes, it is applicable in this game. We were able to follow quite a bit of it. It kind of, I don't know, got a bit blech in the middle, but then the game continued to do well with its delivery with the story, and by the end of it, we kind of got it. And I really fucking loved it. I made the massive mistake of playing this game though without playing the first one. I think it was Welcome to Hanwell. I never played that game. So please take this review and this conversation with maybe just a sprinkle of a grain of salt, because sorry, my music has stopped. I don't know even how long that's been like that. Sorry. But yeah, I didn't play the first game, so I don't know how well it ties in with this one. I apologize. If I knew it had a first game, I would have definitely have jumped on that first, but I didn't. And that was back in 2017. So if you have played the first one and the second one and they do tie in, let me know again in the comments down below, because I'll probably have a little conversation with you to find out how well they tie in with each other. So it's Welcome to Hanwell is the first game, and then Beyond Hanwell is the second game, this one. But yeah, this game is still, wow, we had fun with this game. I think we put in 12 to 13 hours in total on the game itself, and we took our time because I like to take my time. But there's so much that screams Resident Evil, there's so much that screams Silent Hill. The melee combat is super similar to Dead Island. It's like they took so many inspirations from other games and just sucked it into their game. But they did it in their own way, which it definitely does need improving. It does. Like I said, the controls are a little bit stiff. The controller mapping is a bit messy, and the character does feel stiff at times itself when you're moving around. But that's all things that they can work on, and maybe even develop another title where they've already improved on that. Any game customization and stats building, there's no leveling up, there's no RPG elements in this game, so I can't really talk about any of that. And there is no real game customization other than you being able to customize customize a melee weapon or two. Thank you so much for the sub. I massively appreciate that. Thank you. Online co-op modes, features, and stability. It's a single player offline experience, so there is no co-op, there's no online, but it would have been amazing to maybe have a mode where you could run around with a friend around London, because again, you're running around London, and that was the big selling point for me in this game. The fact that you see Big Ben, you get to go inside Big Ben as well, and you get to run around. God, it was definitely there's a game shop in the game though that you don't get to go into, and that pissed me off just a little bit. just a little bit. Purchase price versus digital price versus value of content. The game is I have not written that down. I believe it was 25. But I can quickly find that out for you right now. Yeah, $24.99. Do I feel that this game, £25? Yeah, easily. Do I? Yeah. I mean, you can spend £40-50 on a fucking game that'll give you 4 hours of gameplay, and that's it. This is a £25 game, a horror shooter, £25 horror shooter with puzzles in it. For 25 quid, 100% it's worth every penny. It truly is 100%. So yeah, I do think value of content, yes. Any additional notes taken? The game size is 62 gig. That matches the content 100% because of how I wouldn't say it's massive, but because of how big the London map is that you get to run around, and the amount of facilities and buildings that you get to enter, including all the puzzles as well that you have to figure out, the weapons, the mobs. Yeah, 100%, 62 gig. That sounds about right. The developers and the publishers are still Art Software. It's categorized as a shooter, but I really fucking wish that Microsoft would add a fucking horror category, because there are many games that are horror that are not categorized as horror, and that's annoying as shit. The tech is 4K Ultra HD 60 FPS. Yes, you can trigger the game to look gorgeous, but just be warned, it might not run well on your Xbox. So the warning is there. It is single player, as I said. There are accessibility options for the hard of hearing. The issue of all the safe houses looking identical, it's not really an issue, it's just a personal annoyance. There are scattered safe houses around London. They're all identical in every fucking way. As in, you walk in, it's identical. And that is just, I'm sorry, but that's just something that irritates me. They should all look different in some way. I don't give a shit if it's color. I don't, if it's size, color, what's in that building. It's like a copy paste. I don't like that. I'm sorry. And that to me is a little bit on the lazy side. We've been told it's a bug, that when you enter the safe house, there's a table full of ammunition for your handgun and your shotgun. It respawns all the time. So ammo, though you can craft ammunition, you can craft handgun shell, bullets and shotgun shells. We only needed to use that once. Other than that, we just kept running back to a safe house and rearming. And that needs to be patched, because you're removing a big element of the crafting because of free shit that's constantly respawning in the safe house. But we were told it was a bug, and we were told that it's something that they're working to patch. Good, great, awesome. Enemies spawn out of thin air, we've already talked about. The drone map system is awesome. 100% agree. I think it's a really cool map system, and it's very, very, the transition between the character and then zooming up to the drone map and then straight back to that's done so fucking well. Storage box in safe house would help with items. It will stop you from throwing overstock on the floor. No collectibles and everything else I've already kind of talked about. So what it boils down to is, would I recommend this game to you, and what would I grade it? I would recommend this game. If you're into Silent Hill, if you're into Resident Evil, I would 100% recommend this game to you. Yes, especially at the $24.99 price point that it's at. It is a great price for a really, really, really good game. But at the same time, we have highlighted quite a few issues with the game and quite a few irritations, bugs, and things that could be better. So it is not a perfect game, for sure, and it definitely needs a little bit of love and TLC to polish the game out. But the idea that they have in this game is phenomenal. I believe this game could have been contender of, like, for game of the year or some shit. I really do. Because it's got a lot in it. It's got a lot of things that, ooze Resident Evil, like I said. A lot of oozing of Silent Hill with the puzzles as well. And the storm as well. That reminded me of Silent Hill, the foggy storm that came in. But they've got to fix the flickering textures. They've got to fix the frame rate. More enemies would have been icing on the cake for sure. There is definitely a lack of enemies for sure that you can fight. Maybe some more firearms would have been nice as well, but that's just a me preference itself. And yeah, this game could have done really well, in my opinion. And I'm very glad I got the opportunity to try it. I am. And it was thanks to one of our community members, RPD Outbreak, that gifted this game for review purposes. So thank you so much for the opportunity of being able to review this. Thank you. It means the world. Thank you so very much. With that in mind, I'm happy to give Beyond Hanwell a strong 7.5 out of 10, in my opinion. With a little bit of love, with a little bit of TLC, patches, a few updates, I think this game has great potential. I really do. Just that there is something, there's a lot of invisible walls. It's just, it needs a little bit of love. There should never be an invisible fucking wall stopping you from being able to explore certain things. It's so annoying. But that's just my opinion. That's my thoughts, my opinion. But I enjoyed it. I really did. I enjoyed it. The puzzles aren't too difficult, and I had a lot of fun. And I got the fucking goosebumps in some areas of this game. It really got creepy. So let me know in the comments down below. Do you think I'm being too harsh? Do you think, you know, my scoring is around about right? I'd love to know your thoughts, and I'll always respond to you. But yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. We've got 2025 coming up, and I hope to see you guys around. Stay safe, healthy, and well, and I'll see you in the next review. Bye-bye.